You don't have to work harder to break the glass ceiling. You're stuck because how you operate is wrong. Let me explain. You run at full speed every day. And that was me a few years ago too. We were just past $1 million in sales, but growth slowed down. And then I read a single book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. And 1 year later, sales grew, profit rose, and my working hours dropped. So if you run a 7-figure company, this may feel true. Your to-do list never ends. You hire, you lead, you fix fires all the time, and you think, not another book. I'm at capacity. I can't do anything else. But at the same time, your glass ceiling does not break and your key KPIs are not moving. And here's the thing. Your company is a set of habits. How you sell, how you hire, how you plan, and how you build are all habits. And right now, those habits are your habits and they run you through your company. So you must be aware of these habits and evolve them. Today, I will share the 5 principles that I learned from the book Atomic Habits as a founder that helped me to grow my business from $1 million to over 60 million US dollars in revenue. Not with more work, but with better habits. Let's go. Let me show you how. So the headline is goal setting is not enough because everyone sets goals, but few people ever reach them. Goals look really big when you set them. It doesn't matter because they are far away. But then they feel empty the closer you get, and when you miss them, it's horrible. So my goal was to make $1 million by the age of 30. I worked nonstop. In the end, I faced burnout. And when I missed the goal, I thought, maybe I'm just not good enough. Maybe I'm not a good founder. Maybe I'm not a good CEO. Maybe I should quit. But then one day I said, fuck it, get it. I don't care. I just stopped chasing the number and worked on the product every day until I liked it. And then made $1 million within 12 months after launching it. So habits decide who wins. Build the habit and goals will take care of themselves. Let me explain. Habits are your growth lever. You think you want success, but what you really want is control and certainty that you will become successful. And for years, I chased success, sales, launches, metrics, but each success became irrelevant after just one day. But then I started focusing on what I do every day, how I think, how I lead. And small habits shaped me into the successful founder that I wanted to be. And therefore, habits help you to shape the identity that you need to grow into to build and sell your company for over $100 million. So let me give you an example. I'm practicing a 4-minute yoga routine every morning for 7 years now without missing a single day. But that's not true. I missed one day where I was in the ER in the hospital with a kidney stone and I couldn't walk. But I actually didn't miss a single day. Even January 1st, I did it. So here's what happened. My posture improved. My confidence improved. I became a better leader with more clarity that is way more perceived as strong and confident as the rock that is there when the storm hits. So these little repetitions, they drove change over time, over the years. This means that your identity builds through daily repetitions, not words or big moves, big swings. Therefore, each action is a step towards your new self. Ask yourself, would my future self do this? If the answer is no, then don't do it, but obviously that's hard. So let me share a fun story. I was at a Date with Destiny event, Tony Robbins' flagship event, and did values work, which is what Tony Robbins is known for. My biggest epiphany I had there was that my top value is not freedom, which I always thought is the biggest value in my life, but instead it is control. I wanted to control sales. I wanted to control return on ad spend. I wanted to control cost, people, everything. But how can you be free if you're controlling everything? And that moment revealed how my little actions to control everything compound into an identity. I'm a control freak. It's unfortunate. But now I became aware about it and I can take the right actions to change that. Therefore, focus on direction, not results. Direction beats speed every time. Because if you go in the right direction and the other person goes somewhere else, then you're already ahead. And early progress often looks invisible. When I built the first prototype of my software in the basement for 2 years, I didn't see any dollar. But after 2 years, I had something usable that became the foundation for my 9-figure business today and made 7 figures in the first 12 months. So progress often hides under the surface. Therefore, trust your direction because growth ultimately shows. And now goals come into place. So goals give you direction and then habits create progress. When I hit burnout 15 years ago, I had goals, obviously, but bad habits. 100% hustle culture, every day full steam, 20-hour days. But then over time, I built a simple daily rhythm, workouts, meditation, time for myself, deep work, and a daily wrap-up. And that habit or system saved me when I didn't hit the goals in time. Therefore, systems beat discipline and systems turn bad days into productive ones. And this brings us to principle number 2. Goals And habits are key. Therefore, goals set direction and habits drive progress. Let me share a quick story. We had a goal to double sales by the end of the year, and we didn't. And then we did something completely different. We focused on building a better hiring system, and we interviewed and interviewed and interviewed people and people and people and people. And that built a habit. And then we found a stronger head of sales, a really strong one. And within months, the number doubled on their own. This shows that to win, you have to build systems, habits around your bottleneck to hit your goals. And these baby steps create dramatic changes over time. When I started posting content, no one watched. But I kept going, one post a day. And then 2 quarters later, people said, hey, you're so active on social. So yeah, compounding is invisible before it's all of a sudden omnipresent. Which brings us to principle number 3. Designing your habits, designing your life simplifies your choices a lot. For example, you know that the top 5 people that you spend the most time with shape your behavior. So choosing the right people will make good choices simple. Let's say you're not going to order macaroni and cheese when everyone around you is eating avocado with eggs. Therefore, design your world for success, and then this design makes the right choices easy. To double click on this, remove temptation early. I used to work with my phone on the desk. I got messages, the thing was ringing all the time, zero focus. Now I keep it in flight mode. All notifications are switched off. You cannot reach me unless you call me twice in a row, which I urge you to not do. Please don't do that. Forget what I just said. It's a simple rule, but it has a big impact. And therefore I learned that removing temptation, protecting my focus is key before I need to start fighting against all these fires. Therefore, be the architect, not the victim. You build the setup you live in. You can rebuild it better. I used to blame the market, the team, the country, the family, but then I realized I designed all of it myself. Once I took ownership, peace came back. Therefore, I learned extreme ownership leads to zero blame. Which brings us to principle number 4, love what you do. This one is really difficult for me personally. I see always problems and issues everywhere, and loving and being super excited about what's happening, all the craziness is hard. But it's so important because enjoying your work beats the 60-second feeling of excitement when you hit your goal before you're on to the next one. So I was chasing outcome after outcome until I got so depressed that I was mad at everyone and hated myself. I would say without my routines, without my habits, I fell in love with what I do again. Writing, building, teaching, creating content. The fun returned. I love doing it. And so did the growth. So find a way to fall in love with what you do. It is so hard, but any improvement changes every single day of your life going forward. So it is so important. Here's what helped me. Amateurs make excuses, pros keep a schedule. So my schedule stops me from questioning myself all the time. And my structure protects my purpose. So I used to wake up and the first thing I did was checking my phone for messages. Now, today I plan my week on Monday morning and I put everything in my calendar. So my calendar decides for me and then I just follow the plan. This one is counterintuitive, but it's so true. Passion follows discomfort. Let me explain. If you do the same thing over and over again, it will feel repetitive and boring. Like my yoga routine. It's a 4-minute long thing, but still it's boring. Until it's not. Let me explain you why. Because it's 4 minutes. It's so short that I only do a few exercises and I got really flexible in certain parts of my body. And then in other parts all of a sudden felt super stiff. And so I extended my routine. I changed the exercises. Sometimes I do it longer. I can now listen to my body and I know exactly what I need to change to get rid of neck pain, back pain, lower back pain, knee pain by just listening to my body through this routine. So the routine grew in itself and it became a work in progress living thing. And today I love it. It's part of me. So stick with it, improve it, trust it, and love, passion will show up eventually. And the final principle number 5, copy the right people. When I joined the Entrepreneurs Organization and the Young Presidents Organization, EO and YPO, it's a group of entrepreneurs that are all making $1 million or in YPO's case, $10 million or more. My standards rose overnight. Their pace became my pace and their habits became my habits. So habits spread really fast in groups. How they behaved, what they did, there was always something to learn and we all learn from each other. So therefore, surround yourself with the people who act how you want to act and you will subconsciously copy their habits. Next learning, avoid Diderot. What the F is Diderot? It's named after the French philosopher Denis Diderot, who wrote an essay in the 1700s titled The Regrets on Parting with My Old Dressing Gown. Okay, so far it's boring, but listen to this. Diderot received a beautiful new gown as a gift. Once he put it on, he suddenly noticed how out of place everything else in his study looked. His old chair, his rug, his desk, his everything. So he began replacing his perfectly good items with new ones to match the elegance of his role. In the end, he was poorer and no happier, but surrounded by better things. So today, the Diderot effect means one change creates a chain reaction of desire for further changes. Let's say you buy a new iPhone, then you buy a new case, then you get a new earpods, and maybe an Apple Watch to pair with. When ultimately what's really important is simplicity, because simplicity scales better. So focus on what matters, less noise, more focus leads to more profit. Next one. I studied business and I'm a planner. Planning is so important to me. But overthinking kills progress, and action builds clarity, and action also builds quality. So therefore, just do it. I once spent a whole quarter planning on how to become successful with content creation, and I didn't do anything. And then I just started filming my interviews with customers and I put them into a podcast. It sucked. It was 100% cringe. But then I recorded 200 episodes in just 2 quarters and I became really good at it. It worked better. So start messy, but then quantity leads to quality. Next learning. Progress is invisible until it's not. I worked for 2 years in a basement before I had a usable product. There was no product after 1.5 years. It was just code. So like cutting a tree, just keep cutting. The tree will fall eventually, just not right away. So big change starts always small. My first habit back then was writing 1 line of code a day, and that turned eventually into a 9-figure business. The most important thing that you need to do right now is start now, and your identity will grow by starting now. So here's what you got to do. Start with 1 habit and start now, and that will pave the way to your new identity, to business success, to a journey and life that is worth living. So you don't need to work harder. It's about building habits that make you grow. And if you grow, the glass ceiling will break automatically. You've got a team, customers, maybe kids. Your days are full. That's real life. Same for me. So building habits doesn't mean you have to do something on top. It has to fit inside what you're already doing. You have to do things just differently. And it is not one big leap. It's dozens of small upgrades repeated over and over again. 1 better hiring process, 1 cleaner sales cycle, 1 smarter way how you spend your morning focus hours. Each small fix is a little brick to become that 8-figure founder version of yourself. So here's my question. What is the 1 small habit that you will start today? Write it down. Run it daily. And let it prove who you are becoming. You don't have to pivot your company overnight. You just need very little atomic, repeatable actions. If this was helpful, watch the next video. I will show you how to improve your mindset that lets your company grow without you working more. See you there.